The hottest AI commodities right now are interactive AI apps. Research shows that the no code AI platform market is roughly $7 billion a year, and it's projected to grow 20 to 30% each year. The amazing thing is that everyday average Americans like you and I can build, deploy, and sell an AI app in just a few hours. So it's time for you to get rid of those boring PDFs and courses and turn them into interactive, sellable AI apps. So you can build and deploy an entire no code app on the Apple or Android store in under 30 minutes. I just created this amazing app with zero code, no dev team, and just the power of AI. So today I'm going to show you how to go from idea or framework to a product that your clients can actually log into and interact with. And yes, it scales. You can launch this micro app without touching a single line of code. So grab your coffee and open Google's AI Studio and let's build your $1 million app together. By the end of this video, you'll have a live app, a working back end, and the blueprint to turn your knowledge into income. So before we dive in, let me give you some background on Google's AI Studio and Firebase. Here's the simplest way to understand it. AI Studio is your brainstorming partner, and Firebase is the back end that holds all of the information and authentication for your app. Google AI Studio is more like the front end user interface. This is what the users will see when they log into your app. And Firebase is the back end that stores all of your app's information and authentication so that users are able to log in and save files, and that the system will also remember each user that comes into your app. So Google AI Studio is perfect for prototyping and designing your user interface. You can start out with Google AI Studio and prototype and build and test your apps. But when you're ready to connect your database, add user authentication, and deploy something fully functioning to customers that they can log into, this is when you'll need Firebase. Now, the one thing I love about Google AI Studio is that you can push the code that you're working on into GitHub. And GitHub is a repository that will store your app's code so that you can transfer that code to any other app builder that you want. And I love Google AI Studio's pricing model. To build and run your app with daily visitors, this can cost just a few dollars each month. Now, all of that varies and it depends on everything that you have in the app and how much the users are utilizing the app. So before we touch any tools, you can ideate your app in Gemini by just chatting with it and letting it know what you're trying to build and let it help you come up with the layout and the functionality and the elements that you want in your app. So for example, when you go into gemini.google.com, you can just type in an app idea that you have. You can say, I want to create an interactive AI app for my course, and then you can describe it. You can just go on and describe it here, right here in Gemini. And if you do the drop down right here, you can then select the model that you want to use, whether you want to use the fast thinking model where it generates answers very quickly, or if you want to use the thinking 3.0 model, then that will think through more complex topics and give you a better answer. So I'll drop the link below to where you can get the full prompts for building out and ideating your apps. But once you have your app sketched out and you know exactly what you want to build and how users are going to go through that app, you can then move over to Google AI Studio, which is aistudio.google.com. And this is where you're going to build your prototype and bring your ideas to life. So remember, Google AI Studio is where you have the front end to ideate and prototype your app. And you can deploy it, a small version of it, to test it, but users won't be able to log into it until you integrate the Firebase back end. So let's just go through the Google AI Studio portion first, and then we'll go through the Firebase part after we have a working prototype. So for this example, I'm going to walk you through building out my own interactive AI app for my new book, the AI-powered 1 Hour Workday. Now, I want this app to be a fully functioning interactive workbook for my clients or whoever picks up the book or whoever purchases the book. They can get this interactive workbook so they can work through the steps to learn how they can build out their own AI-powered 1 Hour Workday by removing bottlenecks and inefficiencies and letting AI do the work for them. So I'm going to go ahead and paste in my prompt here for the UI. So The app that I want to build, like I said, it's going to be an interactive web app. And I want the readers of the book to have an interactive experience and learn how they can create their own 1 hour workday. So I pasted in my prompt, and here I'm telling it that it's a senior front end engineer inside of Google AI Studio. And I told it to create a responsive web app called the AI powered 1 hour workday framework. So let me just make sure that I've given it some good instructions to start off with this prototype. I gave it the app structure, what I want for the screens, for sign in, for the main layout and the navigation bar, and the modules that I want in there as well, and some drop down elements, and the list of the modules, and some other interactive elements like a progress view so that users can see their progress in a dashboard format, and some other buttons and other elements. Now, I don't know how this is going to look. This is just all in my head. So let's just see what it builds. So I'm going to click right here where it says build, and I'll let the agent work its magic. So over here on the left in the context window, you can see that the agent is thinking through what it's doing and the instructions that I gave it. And it's also conceptualizing how this will look. So right here, you can see it's reorganizing the UI elements and is laying it out, is creating the index and the metadata. So I'll just give it maybe 3-4 minutes before it finishes and comes up with a beautiful front-facing user interface. At the bottom of my prompt, I did also tell it to make sure that the app would be mobile friendly, tablet friendly, and web friendly. So I really just wanted to make sure that it could function on any type of device. So I put that at the end. Okay, so I love the look here for the UI, but I just realized that I don't want it to block me from seeing the app. So it's put this front-facing login interface here. And in order for me to see what it's created behind this, for all the modules and interfaces that the user will see, I have to ask it to remove this login feature so that I can see the full app. So I'll let it run and I'll let it take that off. And this is just for the users, and I'll set it up again with the back end instructions so that external users can log in with their own username and password. So here I can see exactly what it's thinking through and is integrating the view for the navigation and the app structure and user profiles. Okay, so now I see that it says I have updated the app to bypass the login screen by setting the initial authentication state to true. This allows you to immediately access the main dashboard while keeping the structure intact in case you want to test the sign out functionality later. So awesome. This is great. Okay, so now that I have the app and I have the features that I want outlined in a sketch, so I'm ideating this as we go. I'm going to ask it to create a landing page, and the landing page should tell the users more about what the 1 hour AI workday is before they grab it and sign up for it and before they log in. So let me ask it to create a landing page first for the UI. And I didn't ask it to put in any design elements just because this is a rough sketch. I will determine the design and the hex colors and the brand colors and everything later. But for right now, I just want to see what this will look like as an app. And I also did upload a picture of the book, and this is just a mock-up of it. And I wanted to also take some verbiage from this page, which is a sneak peek preview. If you want to grab it, it's the AI1hourworkday.com. And you can just grab a free sneak peek of the book. It'll be on Amazon in the next few weeks. And then you can learn more about me and what the book entails. So I'm going to ask it to take from this landing page as well and fill in the actual landing page for the UI. Okay, so I can see that it's working and it's thinking through what I'm asking it to do. And this is all just prototyping and ideation. I'll continue to refine the app as I see, as it produces the layouts, and I'll determine what I like, what I don't like, and then I'll just talk to it here. No coding involved. I'll just talk to it like I'm talking to any other LLM and tell it exactly what to take out or what to put in. I'll give it examples of screenshots or even other landing page layouts that I like and designs that I like so that it can just integrate all of that in the app and just make it more personalized to how I like it. Okay, so I can see here it is saying that it's created the landing page. This new component contains the marketing section, the hero banner, the get started call to actions. Okay, so this is great. So once it creates the landing page, then that will be on the front face of the app. So when users log in, then they can just go right into the app. All right. Wow, this is great. Okay, so this is a nice landing page. Your 1 hour workday isn't built by reading a book, it's built by doing the work. This is great. So now that I have the prototype that I like, I'm going to go into Firebase. And like I said, Firebase is the back end. And if you go to firebase.google.com/docs, you can learn more about Firebase. You can learn more about building and running your apps, the different solutions that Firebase offers, and the different integrations that it lets you connect to thousands of different apps. It lets you host your app. It also lets you authenticate emails, phone numbers. It hosts your app. So this is your own like hosting platform. And you can integrate your domain into Firebase so you can host your app. And it also connects to Google Cloud so that the backend code is running in that server. There's also lots of training videos here in Firebase. If you go to firebase.google.com/studio, you can get some more training on Firebase. All right, so here I'm just going to go over to build, and I'm going to click go to build. And now it's asking me, what do I want to build? So I'm going to click Firestore, and Firestore is where you store and sync your app data within Firebase. So here you can learn more about how to store and sync your apps and data in Firebase. And I'm just going to click get started. And now it's going to bring me into the Firebase console. So I'm going to click create a new project, and I'm just going to give my project name, AI 1 hour workday. All right, so I'll call it the AI 1 hour workday app. And then I'll hit continue. And now it's asking me if I want assistance for my Firebase project. So yeah, it's going to ask me to integrate Gemini, which is the LLM chatbot, which I can talk to. And just like I'm trying with ChatGPT, it's going to integrate Gemini so that I can just talk to it and tell it what I want. And then based on that, it'll feed that information back to Google AI Studio, and it will help me to create my app. So here I'm creating the project, the AI 1 hour workday project. I just stored it in one of my existing project folders. So I'll just select that provision. All right, the project is ready. Okay, so now that I'm in the Firestore database, and under build, you can see that it has different options for app check, for hosting your app, for authenticating your app, connecting it, adding extensions, functions, hosting and machine learning, and so on. Okay, so that's under build, and we're in the Firestore database. So over here where it says Cloud Firestore, I'm going to hit create database so that it can create the database for my app, and then I could connect the front-facing UI app that I created in Google AI Studio to this Firebase database. So I'm going to start it in test mode just because I haven't really finished designing my app. So I'm just going to do it in test mode. I'm not ready to deploy it as yet. So now I can see that I have a database right here for my project called AI 1 hour workday. All right, so in project overview, I'm going to click on add app, and then I'm going to go to web app, and then I'm going to make sure I just give that web app a name, AI 1 hour workday app. I'll call it that so I can differentiate the name. And then here you can set up Firebase hosting for this app. We can do that later. Let me just register the app first, and I'll hit register. You can go ahead and just copy this code and make sure you save it for later. This is the software development kit code, and we want to make sure that we put this in a good place so that we can put it back into our project. So the software development kit, the SDK, is like a tool belt that works with the app. So if the app has any bugs, the SDK can come in and it can read it and fix any bugs and configure your app so that it's workable. So that's just a high-level explanation so that you can understand it at a beginner level. But this is something that software developers usually use, and the AI app already knows how to use this. So let's just copy it and then we'll save it for later. We're going to go back to Google AI Studio and we're going to paste it in there. So we're going to select continue to console. Okay, so now that you're back in the console, you can see your app. So what we want to do next is make sure we set up the authentication for the app so that users can log in. So on the left side, you're going to click authentication, and then you're going to click get started. So this is how you enable your users to sign in. So do you want them to sign in with email and password, with phone number, anonymously, or with any of these other apps over here? So I'm going to click Google because I think most people have Google and they can sign in using their own Google account. I'm going to make sure I click enable, and then I'll select my personal email address right here in the dropdown for any notifications about the project. All right, so I click save, and now Google is enabled as a sign-in method for the users. And now I'm just going to click here where it says add new provider, and then I'll make sure that they can also log in via email and password. So I'll enable email and password, and then I'll hit save. So the next thing you want to do is go over to templates, and this is where you can ensure that the user's email address gets verified. So when they come into your app and they give you an email, we want to make sure that it's not a fake email and that the Firebase can authenticate that email and also make sure that the users can log in with it and also give you a password. So under email verification, right here, you can see where it says sender name not provided. This is where the emails are going to come from to the user. They're going to notify the user, hey, click on this button so that you can verify your email. So if they see that this is where the emails are coming from, it looks like a spam email address. So if you want, you can connect your own domain to this. So it looks like it's coming from a professional business. So for me, I can customize the domain to come from Nicole McCain, or I can make it come from Nicole McCain at the AI 1 Hour Workday. So I'll say that for when I complete the app, but that's just to let you know that's where you would connect your domain. And it's coming directly from Firebase. They don't allow you to edit this message. So for password resets, same thing. They will get the same email that tells them to reset their password if they forget it. And then for email address change, there's another email that will go to them where they can change their email if they want to. There's also multi-factor authentication so that they can do a two-step verification to get back into your app. So now that users are able to be authenticated, let's go back into Google AI Studio and let's just make sure that we now can enable the login functionality so that they can log in with an email and password. So I'm going to add in a few prompts here to make sure that users are fully authenticated and can log in and that there are no spammy email addresses or that users don't get in without an email address. I'm just going to reinforce that here in Google AI Studio. I already did it on the back end, but let me just make sure the apps are talking to each other. So here I'm going to paste in this prompt that says you are a senior front-end developer working inside Google AI Studio. I have a Firebase project and a web app already created. Connect this Google AI Studio app to Firebase using the following SDK configuration. Now I'm going to go back in and that SDK code that we grabbed from Google AI Studio, let's just make sure that we paste it in here. Okay, so I have the code in there for the software development kit. Now, before I hit enter, let me just make sure I finish my prompt. All right, let me give it the final requirements. So the final requirements will tell Google AI Studio to enable email and password authentication, enable sign in with Google, and so on. So as I mentioned, I'll drop the link to my prompts below so that you can access them in my community. Let me go ahead and hit enter. And you can see here that is updating the app logic and Firebase authentication is telling me exactly what it's doing. I will integrate Firebase authentication in your application. This involves setting up Firebase service, updating the HTML, import map to load the Firebase SDKs, and modifying the auth and app components to handle the authentication state and actions. Okay, awesome. Okay, so this is the landing page. Now I'm going to give it one more prompt so that I can make sure that if users are locked out, that they can do a forgot password feature and that they can get back in with creating a new password. So let me just give that prompt to Google AI Studio and I'll hit enter. All right, so this prompt says email verification upon sign up, which we already did in Firebase. So when a user signs up, we want to make sure that it sends a verification email. Do not sign them in automatically. Instead, show them a verify your email screen with this particular message that we've sent a verification link to your password. Please confirm your email and then come back in and sign in. And then there's also a button to sign back in. So this is just really reinforcing the functionality and making sure that any attempts to circumvent the app is blocked because we've enabled those features on the back end. And now we're reinforcing it with the front end as well. Okay, so here I can see exactly what it's doing. It's thinking through and it's improving and it's refining the Firebase integration. And now it's updated the files and the services back to Firebase with the reset password helper functions inside the SDK. This is great. Everything should be working. Now I'm just going to go test it out. So now I'm going to give it an email address and a password, and I'm going to test it out and make sure that it will block me if I'm giving it a fake email address and that it authenticates the real email address that I'm going to give it. So I was able to log in with my email address and I was able to get inside the app and you can see my email address is here. This is where the app will display each user's unique ID and their own name and account here. You can also configure the app to save each user's file. If you want to do that, you can ask it to even save the progress for each user. So when they leave and they come back, they can see the progress. Just talk to the app and tell it all of that. Whatever other functionalities that you want in there, you just speak to Google AI Studio here and it will integrate it for you. Now for me to get this app in my user's hands, I can go up here to the rocket and click deploy. I already have Google Cloud enabled. So if you didn't, this would be the place where it would tell you to connect to Google Cloud, and then you can do that. So here I'm just going to select an existing Google Cloud project so that all data gets stored to the cloud, and then I'm going to click Deploy App. Okay, so now I can see that it gave me an app URL. So this app URL is just for this project. I'm just going to go ahead and make sure I can test it out with the new URL. I'm on the landing page, and if I go to member login, then I can test the app and I can log in with my name and email address. And now the app is deployed, but that particular link URL, I don't want to use this URL. I want to connect it to my own domain. So in order to do that, I'm going to go back into Firebase. So now back in Firebase, I'm going to go over to my project. And in order to fully deploy your app onto the marketplace, you do have to add a credit card. Add your debit or credit card, and it's pay as you go and pay as you use the tokens. You can have 10,000 users on this app every month and pay less than $100 a month. The prices right now are very low, and it's per use. So you can go back to Firebase, Docs, and then you can go over to more, and then you can go over to pricing, and then you can look at all the details there of what it may cost you for running your app and having users in it and authenticating. But remember, the more that you put in there, then the more it may cost, even though the costs are still very low. But like if you have users going in there and uploading screenshots, saving documents, exporting documents, chatting with the AI in there, those are all calls that will be billed to your account. So just keep that in mind as your app is running. All right, so now that we have the app URL for the deployed app from Google AI Studio, let's copy it and then let's bring it over to Firebase. And then in Firebase, when you go over to authentication, you can go over to settings. And then when you click settings, go down to authorized domains. And then here is where you can add the authorized domain. And this will be that front-facing UI app from Google AI Studio. So now it's added there. And whenever we select this link, that is the custom domain for the app. So I'm going to copy that URL as well in the browser. And then let's see if it comes up. All right, so there it is. There is the fully functioning app for my AI 1 Hour Workday book. And now users can go into this app. They can access the workbook that goes along with the book. They can log in. They can have their own personalized session and guidance that will track their progress through the work. And that was easy to do. So in less than 30 minutes, we created a fully functioning deployable app that users can log into. So you just watched me turn the AI-powered 1 Hour Workday from a static book into a living digital coach. So instead of your readers getting stuck on page 45 of your workbook, this app walks them through their sessions. It gives them AI-powered coaching in real time so that they don't get stuck and that they actually finish the lessons. So you can use my exact prompts, you can tweak it to fit your business and your own content and get your digital app up and running without hiring a development team. And if you want my personal help in designing your ecosystems for your offers, your courses, or your programs, just jump into my Digital Roadmap AI community and I'll be happy to connect with you there. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll have more content and more app builds like this coming your way. Thanks for watching.